Alright, these are your notes for Chapter 10, Stop 3, Quartiles and Interquartile Range. Okay, quartiles and interquartile range. So if we go ahead and open these up, we're going to start with some vocab at the top, and then we'll go into just practicing finding those things. And we'll have some steps here to show us how to do that each time that we can follow to help us find our answers. So going up to the top, measures of spread is our first blank. Measures of spread. Okay, and that's also right here if you need it. So measures of spread are used to describe the distribution or spread, that's another word for distribution, of the data. Okay. The range is the difference, and we learned this in our last stop, the difference between the greatest and least data values. So that was the highest number minus the lowest number. That was how we found the range. Our next one is going to be quartiles. If you can't read that, it's also right up here at the top. So quartiles are values that divide the data set into 4 equal parts. Well, if you look at this, quartiles, or this prefix right here means 4. Okay, so that can help you remember. Quartiles divide the data into 4 equal parts. Okay, the next one, the median of the lower half of the set of data is called the first quartile. Okay, and we abbreviate that by a lot of times writing Q1, quartile 1, or first quartile. And then the median of the upper half of the set of data is called the third quartile. And we abbreviate that with a Q3. Okay, so the median of the lower half of data, remember median is middle, so the median of the lower half of data is the first quartile, or you'll see us write Q1 a lot. Okay, and then the median or the middle of the upper half of the data is the third quartile, or Q3, which you'll see us write that a lot. Okay, and then the difference between the third quartile and the first quartile, so Q3 minus Q1, that's called the interquartile range, which is also up here at the top. So we know range is the highest number minus the lower number. But the interquartile range is the range between the 2 quartiles. So to find that, that would be quartile 3 minus quartile 1. And we're going to practice all that below. And then last but not least, an outlier is a data value that is either much greater or much less than the median. Okay, so it's a number that's way bigger or way smaller than the median. Okay, all right, so let's go down here to our examples. They want us to determine the measures of spread for the number of votes received for student government president. So these are the votes, the number of votes received for student government president. So we've got some steps we're going to follow here. And you'll notice step 1 on almost all your notes this chapter is the exact same. You're going to arrange the numbers in order from least to greatest. This should always be your first step with any set of data before you figure out anything. The range, the median, the mode, the mean, the Q1, the Q3, the interquartile range, anything like that. All right. So we're going to arrange the numbers in order from least to greatest. Oh, before I forget, the interquartile range, we have an abbreviation for that also. Like for first quartile, we write Q1. For third quartile, we write Q3. For interquartile range, you'll see us write IQR, interquartile range. That way we don't have to write that big old long word out every time. So those are just some abbreviations that you'll need to know. Okay, going back. So step 1, arrange the numbers in order from least to greatest. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right over here. So let's see. I start with 2. Then I go to 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, I have 2 of those, 20, then 21. So 20, then 21. So I've put my numbers in order from least to greatest. My second step is to determine the range of the data. Remember, the range is the highest number minus the lowest. Okay, so my highest number is 21. My lowest number is 2. And 21 minus 2 is 19. Okay, so the range is just the highest minus the lowest. Step 3 is to find the median. Okay, so I need to find the middle. So in order to do that, I like to, you can put check marks if you want to, or cross them out, it's up to you. I'm going to go ahead and do check marks because that's easier for me. So beginning, end, beginning, end, beginning, end, beginning, end, beginning, end, and I'm left with this number in the middle. So 15 is my median, my middle number. Okay, step 4 is to find the first quartile, or Q1. Okay, so the first quartile, or Q1, is the median, okay, or the middle of the lower half of the data. So the lower half would be everything to the left. So this is my lower half of data, and I want the median of this set of data. So the median would be, let's see, 2, 14, 10, 13. So the median of this would be 12, or the middle of this set of data would be 12. So Q1 is 12. Okay, now we're going to find the third quartile, and that is the median of the upper half of the data. So we're going to do the same thing that we did here on the upper half. Okay, so 17, 21, 18, 20. I'm left with 18 in the middle. So Q3 would be 18. Okay, so if you look right here, I don't know, some of you may have noticed this already, but they've drawn us a picture, and we're just going to kind of label it. So they put us, or they already put the numbers in order for us, and we figured out that this middle number, that 15, that was our median. The median of the lower half of the data, okay, that 12, that was our Q1, or our first quartile, quartile 1. And then the median or middle of the upper half of the data, well, that was our Q3, or our third quartile. And then last but not least, they want us to find the interquartile range. Okay, so that is the difference between Q3 and Q1. So 18 minus 12. So Q3 minus Q1. 18 minus 12, which is 6. So the interquartile range is 6. And again, I'm going to write IQR right there just to help you remember that we'll abbreviate it that way sometimes. So now that we have this example, we're going to go down here and find the exact same things on these two problems. So I'm going to go, it says that they want us to determine the range, the median, the first and third quartiles, and the interquartile range for each data set. Okay, then we're going to see if there's any outliers. So that I don't forget to find all of these things, I'm just going to go ahead and write them over here. So I need to find the range, I need to find the median, I need to find Q1, or the first quartile, I need to find Q3, or the third quartile, and I need to find the interquartile range, or the IQR. Okay, and then they want us to figure out if there's any outliers. Alright, so that's everything that I need to find for the set of data. So my very first step is going to be to put the numbers in order from least to greatest. So let's go ahead and do that over here. Looks like my smallest number is 14, so 14. Then comes 19. Then comes 27. Then 28. And I have another 28. Then 30. Then 51. Okay, so now that I put them in order from least to greatest, I can start figuring out and filling in these blanks. So the range is the highest minus the lowest. Well, that's going to be the 51 is my highest and 14 is my lowest. So that's going to be 51 minus 14. And when I subtract those two numbers, I get 37. So my range is 37. Now I'm going to find the median, or the middle. Okay, so let's find the middle. Got 14, 51, 19, 30, 27, 28. So that means that this number is my middle. Okay, so 28 is my median, or my middle. Now I need to find quartile 1. Well, remember that's the middle of the lower half of the data. So here's my lower half of the data. I need to find the middle number of these. Well, that's obviously 19. 19's in the middle. Okay, so my Q1 is 19. I'm going to do the same thing for the upper half of data. The middle of that would be 30. So the middle of the upper half of data is Q3. So that would be 30. And then the interquartile range is Q3 minus Q1. Okay, Q3 minus Q1. So that's going to be 30 minus 19, which gets us 11. And then they want to know if there's any outliers. So if we go back up to our definition of an outlier, it says that it's a value that's either much greater or much less than the median. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to look at my endpoints and I like to find the difference. So my lowest value, what's the difference between the median and the lowest value? So 28 minus 14, that's a difference of 14. Well, now I'm going to do the same thing for the median and the upper value. So I want to know the difference between 51 and 28. And when I subtract that, I get 23. So 14 and 23 are really not that far off from each other. You would know if it was an outlier, like this would be 14 and this number would be like 50 or something like that. Like they're way far apart. So it's this number that's just stuck way out there and it's nowhere near the median. So since these two are pretty close together, I don't really see that I have a number here that's just stuck way out there randomly out in the middle of nowhere. I would say that there are no outliers, or none, for this set of data. Okay, let's follow the exact same process that we did on number 1 on number 2. So I'll just go ahead and write down everything that we need so we don't forget. We need to find the range. We need to find the median. We need to find quartile 1, quartile 3, the interquartile range, and see if there are any outliers. And again, I'm getting all that just from what they told me to find up here. All right, so step 1, first and foremost, always, is to put our numbers in order from least to greatest. Least to greatest. So, looks like my smallest number is 65. Okay, then I've got 88. Another one of those. 89. And 91. Another 91. 92, 93, and 95. All right, so now let's just start, after I've done that, let's just start filling in our blanks over here. So the range is going to be the highest minus the lowest, so that would be 95 minus 65, and I'll write that up here. 95 minus 65, that would get us 30. Okay. Now I'm going to find the median, or the middle. So I'm just going to start checking off beginning, end, beginning, end, beginning, end, beginning, end. Okay, so I'm left with 91 in the middle, so that's my median. Now I need to find quartile 1. Remember, quartile 1 is the median of the lower half of data. Okay, so if I start going here, beginning, in, uh-oh, there's not a pretty number in the middle, okay? I'm looking for a number that's right here in the middle of these 88s. Well, if you come down to where you have a median that needs to be between two numbers, the way you can do that is finding the average of those numbers, okay? So remember, to find the average, you add together and divide by the amount of numbers you have. So since I want to find the average of these two numbers, I would add them together. That's 176. And then I'm going to divide it by 2 because I had two numbers. 2 goes into 17 8 times. 2 goes into 16 8 times. So the median of 88 and 88 is 88. What number is halfway between 88 and 88? Well, that's still 88. So quartile 1 is 88. Okay, now we're going to find quartile 3. So I need the middle of, it needs to be right here in between 92 and 93. So in order to do that, I'm going to add these two numbers together. 92 plus 93 gets me 185, and then I'm going to divide that by 2 because I have two numbers that I added together. 2 won't go into 1, but it will go into 18 9 times. Bring down my 5. 2 goes into 5 4 times. I'm sorry, 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. That leaves me with 1. I need to keep going, so I'm going to add a decimal, take it up and a 0. Now I can bring that down. And 2 will go into 10 5 times. Okay, so the median, or Q3, of these two numbers is going to be 92.5.